Shout out to the kids who used to sit in the library and study and bring their hot kettle and ramen noodles. They are the real MVPs, and I am inspired by them today.
Perfect.
Hi guys, and welcome back to my kitchen. If you are new here, my name is Kaylee, and today in my kitchen, we're talking all about ramen. I know right now as we're trying to stay home, a lot of people have been indulging in ramen. College students, it is your time to shine. Although, wait a second, I don't think I looked like this when I was in university. It was more like, what are these? So now we're ready to go. We're gonna be making some ramen today, but we're gonna dress it up a little bit. We're not looking for that boring Mr. Noodle type ramen. I wanna show you that you can add things into your ramen to make it a full, well-balanced meal with tons of flavor. I've got a few different ramen noodles in here. One of the most important things is picking a ramen that has a really good flavorful base. I'm always going for the spicy ramen. Even if I can't read the words, if it looks bright red, my eye is drawn to it. So pick whichever ramen you prefer, and then I'm gonna show you a few different ways to dress it up. You can use all of the toppings, you can choose a few. Really just take a look inside your fridge and see what you have. For today's ramen noodles, we're going to be using this kind. I have no idea what it says. The only English words on here are fiery garlic taste. So that's got my name written all over it. Now we've also got a few other things to make it more fancy or elevated. For our protein today, we're gonna be adding in some Spam. It's awesome because you can fry it up. It adds a little bit more of a texture and really brings out that flavor. We're also going to be adding in some ramen eggs. So if you don't know how to make the perfect ramen egg, you have to check out the last video that I posted, all about making that perfect egg. We've got the soft boiled down with our egg experiment. Okay, enough egg jokes. Also going inside of our ramen, we do want to get some of those veggies in there. So I'm going to add in some bean sprouts, a little bit of bok choy. I'm going to show you how to fry up this shiitake mushroom with a special sauce. And then the last few things that we're going to use are some seaweed. So we always happen to have nori in the house anyway. We like to throw it in soups, in ramen. And lastly, a little bit more heat. So I've got a few different types of chili oil. If you don't happen to have chili oil, you can just cut up a chili, throw that on top. And final thing, I almost forgot. Good thing I have my garden here. A few spring onions. And that's it. That's everything I'm gonna be putting in my ramen today. For today's ramen dish, there is very minimal prep, but I'm gonna quickly get everything ready to go. So that way, once the ramen starts cooking, it's a super quick process. We're just going to take apart our bok choy and very carefully wash in between each of the leaves in there. Sometimes little critters hide, so you do wanna make sure you give it a good wash through. I'm going to thinly slice the shiitake mushroom and take off that hard stem. Quickly dice up some green onion and chili, and last thing is just cut the nori into some slices that we can put into the ramen at the very end. All right, to get started, we're going to first fry up our Spam and also cook up our shiitake mushrooms. Now, as per the cameraman's request, today we're going to cook up both with this sauce. If you haven't tried it before, it's an Indonesian sauce, but it's called ketchup manis. It tastes like a sweeter soy sauce. I like to pair this with the shiitake mushrooms because the umami flavor from here and the sweetness, they really balance out. And today we had the idea that if we put this with the Spam, it'd be like a teriyaki Spam. So we're gonna try that one out. I've got my frying pan here. I'm just gonna put it up to about a medium high heat. Add in a little sesame oil so that nothing sticks, and then put everything in. All right, so our Spam looks perfect. It's nice and kind of golden brown around the edges. I think by adding in that ketchup manis and that heat as well, it's kind of caramelized on there, so it looks awesome. Our shiitakes are cooked perfectly. Honestly, that whole cooking process took about 1 minute to a minute and a half. It's very quick. You don't need to overcook anything. And even though you can see that I'm putting everything to the side, don't worry about if anything starts to cool down. Once we've added all the components together, we're gonna top it off with that super hot ramen broth and everything will heat back up. So it's okay to leave this one out. So I've got my pot here. I filled it with about 2 to 2.5 cups of water. I don't wanna fill it all the way to the top to boil the noodles because I am going to use that water in there as the soup base. Now, as that's coming to a boil, I do want to clarify that the ingredients that I'm using today just happen to be things that I had in the house already in my fridge. I'm not saying by any means you have to go out and buy these specific things. Take a look and see what you have and just use inspiration. I really like mushrooms. Sometimes I use shiitake or sometimes I use those little tiny enoki mushrooms, the little cute ones. You could also use just white mushrooms. Slice those up, cook them up as well. You don't have to use bok choy. Sometimes I'll use spinach or snow pea leaves. Just take whatever you have available, whatever you think would be really nice in your ramen soup, and be creative with it. Now that our water is boiling, I'm going to add in our noodles and take out the soup base. This particular ramen comes with some dried veggies, so I'm gonna pop those in right away, give it a stir, and then add in the spicy garlicky soup base. All right, once it's been boiling for a little bit, I would say around 2 or 3 minutes, give them a quick little taste test. You wanna make sure that the noodles don't get too mushy. That's it, you want them to have a little bit of a bounce or a bite back, but you don't want them to be overcooked because then it's gonna sit in the broth and just gonna be this mushy puddle. It would be best to have them slightly under. That way, as you're adding everything in and the broth gets inside, then it'll cook up and heat up a little bit more. Right now I'm gonna take out all of the noodles and put them in the bowl and leave the broth in here. Because this broth is still nice and spicy and super hot, that'll give me the opportunity to put in the bok choy to soften up and the bean sprouts as well. Keeping the broth at about a low heat, I'm gonna add a handful of bean sprouts. Just take however many you'd like. These ones are organic, so some of them are really small and cute. I think our bean sprouts are done. They softened up a bit, so when I lift them up, they're a little bit more limp, but they still have a bit of a crunch to them. I left these in the hot water for about 1 minute, and again at a low to medium heat. Now you could throw this and the bok choy in together at the same time. I'm feeling extra, and I like that the ramen looks fancy and all separate. All the components are in their own spot, so I do them separately, but by no means do you have to. If you're saving time, just throw it all in together. All right, it's time to add in our bok choy into the boiling water or boiling broth. Again, this will be in here for about a minute and a half. We just want the bok choy and the stalks to soften up a little bit. Once the bok choy is out, we're just going to turn the heat off on our broth, finish adding in the rest of the fixins, and top it all off.
Perfect.
All right, it's time to add in what truly makes this the perfect ramen, our perfect ramen egg. Now this one's been marinating overnight in the fridge, so when I cut it open, it may be a little bit solid. Don't worry about that. Once I pour the broth over top, everything's gonna heat up, that yolk will be nice and runny, and the ramen will be ready to go. That's it, let's dig in. So it takes a little bit to get a bit of each component. Let's just try a small bite in here. That ramen egg really does look perfect. That broth is good, it's nice and spicy. Look at that noodle pull. Noodle pulls be hitting different at home, am I right? Get some veggies. It's awesome. We're gonna mix this all up, dive right in This is the perfect dish. It's so well balanced. I think adding the ketchup mayonnaise to the Spam and also to the mushroom balances everything out because it's a little bit sweet, but not too much. And even though we added in a few extra chilies, it's not too overpowering in the heat department. So I'm gonna kick you guys out so I can dig into this one. Thank you very much for joining me in my kitchen today. If you are inspired to dress up your ramen, please tag me on any and all social media. I've got my handles right in here. I'd love to see how you were able to spruce it up based on what you had at home. Comment down below what you'd like to see me make next, and remember to stay safe, enjoy your ramen, dress it up, please don't make it boring, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you very much, guys. Bye, guys.